executive session regarding a personnel matter and no action was taken. Moving on then, I will entertain a motion to approve the bill list dated June 13, 2016.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second, any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Please make sure everyone is either saying aye or no, because on the recording, not everyone is saying aye or yes or no. So again, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Moving on then, we ratified the bill list from the previous,
Yeah, we
May
have a large-
31st? Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to ratify the bill list from May 31st, 2016.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second, any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of May 23rd, 2016.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second, any discussion? Hearing no discussion, then all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Moving on then to citizens' comments. I did not grab the sheet. Did you?
Oh, I got it.
Thank you. Okay, so these are for comments regarding agenda items.
I didn't put my name. Excuse me, Nina?
Yeah.
I didn't put my name.
And I'm assuming that you would like to talk about fire. Okay. So Kathy will wait until the end, and Rachel, I'm sorry.
I have two
You wanna
different
talk about
things.
the fire as well?
Yes.
Right, okay. so
And then I have
we'll
one
start-
thing for the end, I
Okay,
guess,
we'll
for the
start with the
non-agenda
end.
item.
If you can come up to the microphone, giving us your name and address, and then of course, you have 3 minutes.
So my name is Rachel Engel, and I live at 10 Walnut Street. And I'm commenting on the residential fire. I would like to be able to have a small residential fire such as a wood burning, not trash, not leaves. But my family often likes to sit outside and enjoy the weather and roast marshmallows or hot dogs, or just kind of sit around and relax outside in the cool area. It's a nice way for our family to come together and enjoy our property and enjoy the neighborhood. It's always controlled. We always put it out afterwards. And it's only ever wood, so nothing going up into the air. And once again, it's controlled and monitored. We've done it for a long time, and like I said, we've enjoyed that as a family aspect, and it's been just a nice way to enjoy the neighborhood. And I enjoy the smell of I guess when people barbecue or different things, like I just think it's a nice kind of fun, homey type of feel. But once again, it's controlled in a small, the fire pits that you might get at like Home Depot, or a small brick enclosure in the backyard. Not a barrel, not anything crazy or ridiculous. So, yeah, we would just like to be able to enjoy residential fire
And
or recreational fire.
We are gonna go through and discuss the burning, so then you'll be able to hear both sides from everyone's opinion.
I also think it would be potential for us to adopt the same as Allegheny County as well, which also has provisions for small recreational fires
Okay,
for
thank
Allegheny
you.
County.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Phillips, you also want to talk about fire?
Sure.
So of course, you know your name and address in 3 minutes.
10 minutes.
And if you wouldn't mind, we know how you feel. Okay.
My name's Tom Phillips, 85 Union Avenue. Like Rachel said, our family loves to go outside on cold nights, to enjoy the weather, enjoy the evening. Those of us who are bothered by it cannot. We are being stripped of our rights to do that. Those people that would like to go outside and enjoy this fire pits and whatever are condemning us to stay inside and close our windows. Some of us are very bothered by smoke. Some of us can't breathe. Try holding your breath for 10 minutes and see how it feels. It's not fun. I sit in the house, whenever they smoke, if stuff, people start burning pits. My window's open, I have to close them. I start hacking, coughing uncontrollably at times. Now, if it bothers me that much, just imagine how it bothers people with asthma and emphysema, lung conditions, breathing devices. I do believe that people should have a right to burn. This isn't the country. This is the suburbs. If you want to burn, move. If you want to be able to breathe, what you're saying to us who can't breathe, move. We have a right to breathe. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, then we will jump right into the solicitor's report.
Thanks, Madam Chairman. Two matters on the solicitor's report for this evening. One is the waiver for the liability and hold harmless agreement for volunteers working on the remediation for the documents. As requested by council, I drafted a form and have submitted it.
Mike's not working.
Submitted a form to the borough manager. It's general, it covers a lot. It's maybe, given the extent of the liability that a municipality has, maybe a little overkill, but done as directed.
Thank you. Have we had, I'm sorry, have we had an opportunity to have, has anyone completed that so far? That waiver? This is the
No, it was
first
just
we're seeing.
uploaded
Okay.
today.
So we'll make sure that we coordinate to have that, make sure that happens.
Yeah, if council approves it, then
Okay.
I can provide it to the library, and they would provide it to any resident that
So
would be
do we
working
need
on
to do
it.
that then? Do we need to have that discussion? Is there?
Does anybody have any comments?
I don't have any comments personally about it. It's a standard
Waiver.
waiver, and, whether it's a group from the library or another group, that group of people who are interested in working on those documents, we can, as you said, you can make it available for
Dave,
anybody
do you
that
have
wants to do that.
anything that you saw from that waiver that you were questioning?
So, would a waiver like this, would this include anyone who is volunteering to do anything for the borough?
You could adapt it to any borough activity.
I mean, we specifically did this just do when the issue came up with the mold, but we can certainly apply it for anything going forward if we see necessary.
So, I'm just having trouble seeing why this would be specifically necessary when other things, like all of other volunteer work, is not, wouldn't be necessary. Could the borough be liable in all situations where someone was volunteering?
I mean, when we put up all of our Christmas decorations,
Yes.
technically, we should have a waiver signed. We take them down, other things that we've done, anytime that we've had any volunteers help us do anything, even in the garden, anything, yes, we should have this.
And how liable are we if,
There are limited areas where a municipality can be held liable under state law, and there are dollar limits in the statute as to how much you can be liable. The waiver is sort of like belt and suspenders. It gives extra protection to the borough and covers things that might not quite fit into the accepted areas of municipal immunity.
I mean, particularly in the situation that we're talking about, with the records that were recovered from the basement, we know that there are some mold issues, and one of the exclusions in the state regulations is if there's any kind of, known issue or anything that could be construed as negligence on the borough side, would potentially remove those tort limits. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So this would be the reason that this would have come up in a situation that we've never encountered before, and that we know that there's potential for damage. We need people to be aware of that. And, whether it's slight or not, and even if we do our best to, remediate, it's best for us to be held harmless, and the people who are volunteering, knowing that there could be some issues involved.
You seem to have some hesitation. Why do you have a hesitation?
I think it's a great thing when people are willing to volunteer to do anything in the borough. And any sort of obstacle in paperwork or I'm just really opposed, to, I want to protect the borough, but I also want to make it as easy and as enjoyable for people to volunteer and participate if they want. So that's.
Well, I think that council could, and the borough could, use the waiver in limited situations rather than all situations. Certainly there are certain activities that are low risk. This one with the mold remediation is a little bit higher risk, I think, because there are too many unknowns.
And I think one of the things that I understand and appreciate, what you're saying, but the flip side of this is that when you put a waiver in front of somebody, it alerts them to potential issues so that they are more cognizant of what they might be, and they can make a more informed decision about whether they want to participate in the activity or not.
So Crafton Celebrates would then have to sign one of these?
He was just saying that, it could be a limited situation. We know that we have a hazard situation with those documents. And we could apply that to anyone who wants to work on the documents. Sign the waiver and you're good. At a low risk thing, like maybe Crafton Celebrates or whatever, or any of the other volunteers, they're low risk. We don't have to enforce that, right?
That's correct.
We wouldn't have to put that in place for them.
Maybe I'm wrong in thinking this way, but as a volunteer, I like to volunteer. This wouldn't stop me from volunteering to sign this waiver. I'm not sure, maybe it would. Some people would not sign it and then not want to volunteer, but I wouldn't think that it would stop me.
Yeah, and
Because if something happened, something major happened and my arm was cut off, then it's a totally different ballgame.
yeah, I understand. It just from my perspective, sort of muddling with something that's a very positive thing, and when we get into the legal part of it, and I understand that, and again, I want, people to be protected, including the volunteers. It's just,
I don't think it's going to do as much harm as you maybe are anticipating. Anyone else want to?
I think, Dave, anyone that is gonna go down and work on those documents, they know that is a danger. So I don't think the waiver's gonna turn them on. I mean, if they wanna volunteer and they wanna help, they know the risks already before they look at this, I think. I don't think this is gonna turn them off or anything.
no, and I understand that, And I think in this situation, yeah. But this is one situation, and you know what happens sometimes with one situation, it becomes another situation, and then another situation, and then it's like, then it's, that's all. That's my concern, that this doesn't go into, a whole mess of jumping, through hoops for people who are willing to volunteer. So giving them the opportunity to volunteer.
Well, I mean, I think if we make a decision that we're gonna keep it within the, confines of the mold.
Well, this is what I'm gonna propose that we do right now. We're going to adopt this waiver specifically for the mold situation, and then we will discuss it going forward for whatever events come up that need to be volunteered. Is it, what is it that we're doing, and should we or shouldn't we include a waiver in there? But for the purpose of the mold, we definitely need to have this waiver. Is that good? So do I just need to entertain a motion to approve this, and we move forward, or is it just a vote?
Why don't you make a motion?
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the waiver of liability for Crafton Borough, waiver of liability and hold harmless agreement that the solicitor prepared for us for today's meeting, June 13th, 2016. Oh, I'm sorry, for the sole purpose of the document remediation for the historical documents in the basement of the borough building. Is that covered?
Recovered.
Recovered from the basement.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Moved and second. Any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Okay, no problem.
Now on to the hot issue, burning. At the direction of council from the last meeting, I drafted a proposed burning ordinance. It is general in scope, it covers a lot of ground. The intent of it was to be a starting point. What it attempts to address is what is burned and where it is burned. It applies to outside burning, it applies to inside burning. It has a limitation as to the types of materials that can be burned. It has provisions for enforcement, penalties, and for a permitting process. It's a starting point. I didn't mean it as an ending point. That's up to council and the public as to where this eventually ends up. Unlike some of the other ordinances that I've looked at, particularly Allegheny County and others, they depend on what I would consider scientific or quantitative standards, and they may not be optimal for our police, fire, and code enforcement officer to try to enforce. The ordinance as drafted relies more on your fellow neighbors and what kind of enforcement there's going to be. With that, I offer the proposed burning ordinance.
Okay, so we have, we've heard the comments from the citizens regarding this topic for tonight. You've all had an opportunity, I'm assuming, to read and review it and go with, put your comments or what you'd like to see, what you'd like to take out. Starting with this just rough draft as it is, who would like to start? Okay.
All right. I think the solicitor did a fine job of threading the needle concerning this subject. Obviously, the municipality is trying to strike a balance between those that would like to burn and those that would not. However, when we get down to the penalties section, I believe this is going to require some attention of the council. Obviously, this was just a first draft here on the ordinance.
And this is 113-8, just so you,
Yeah.
okay.
Last
Sorry.
page. I'm gonna just read it aloud, if I may I?
Mhm.
Any person violating any of the provisions of this ordinance or neglecting to comply with any order or notice issued pursuant hereto for violation of any section hereto shall upon conviction before any district justice be subject to the payment of a fine or of not less than $300 or more than $1,000 and the payment of the costs of prosecution for each offense, or shall be subject to the imprisonment for a period not exceeding 30 days. Each day's continuance of any violation of this ordinance shall constitute a separate offense punishable by a like fine and imprisonment in default of payment thereof. Alright. With this, my understanding is this is pretty common language. I would try to urge us to discuss, do we really need to have imprisonment in lieu of payment if the person's unable to pay? I was thinking maybe we could have a structured violation process. Moreover, maybe instead.
Like the first offense, the
Yeah,
second
first,
offense.
first, second, third, and then in the event the person's unable to pay, we could just do some type of community service, something along those lines. I don't wanna see people lose their jobs and be imprisoned over this subject. That's something that's of great concern, so thank you.
Okay. With that being said, does anyone have anything that they would like to add? We'll talk about the penalties for the moment. Does anyone would like to add?
Well,
anything?
I just think that the magistrate would, it would be a long, long process before he would put anybody in jail. You know, and would it be unreasonable for the magistrate to be able to present the fine of, say, up to $300 for the first offense, and let him make a decision on the, say the first offense is, let the magistrate make the decision. Say it's a $50 fine plus cost, it'll be over $150 probably with a first offense, and then each offense he would increase it. The imprisonment thing would be way down the road. I mean, they would, not want to pay their fine, or if they couldn't afford it, he would set up a payment plan for them, or it could result in community service. But starting the fine at $300 is,
That's pretty much the standard fine for a celebrating offense in Pennsylvania, under Pennsylvania law. And I would like to say that the idea behind the increasing fines and the imprisonment is for people who don't get the message. That's typically where the minor judiciary, the district justice starts to levy $1,000 fines and imprisonment, are for people that don't take heed of the first or second warning.
Thank you.
I mean, has anyone ever really been put into jail because they were burning in their backyard and didn't pay their fines? Really?
Well, that,
Ladies, anything you would like to add to the penalty section, or any comments?
Yeah, I just would like to go, the Allegheny County one that the police have been enforcing for years now.
Okay, and
Like
the,
that.
do you want to read it, or do you want, I don't know if you have a copy of it in front of you, but under the violation and penalties, under the Allegheny, is this the Allegheny County one? Oh, no,
That's
sorry,
Ingram.
sorry.
Ingram's is,
I
because
can
they
tell you what Ingram's is.
Yeah.
So Ingram's is any person or entity found to be in violation of this chapter shall be subject to a civil fine in the amount of $300 for each violation after issuance of a citation and conviction before the district magistrate. This ordinance shall be effective upon passage of this ordinance. It doesn't speak to imprisonment at all, so. That was Ingram. Do you have Allegheny County?
Okay, on Ingram, it says, regulation, is that an ordinance that we're
Yeah,
looking
that's
at?
just the, yeah.
I
there's
was
an
just
ordinance-
reading the violation and penalties
There's an
under
ordinance
their,
behind
under
that.
their,
Right
under their
behind it.
ordinance.
Right behind it is the ordinance.
That's just the fact sheet.
So do you know what Allegheny County is? Do you have it?
I don't have their actual ordinance or anything, I just have like their fact sheet. That's
Okay.
all we've ever received from, from online on there. And it just says for more information, I mean, I could call and ask them what they're,
Are we all in agreement, what I'm hearing, maybe not all of us, but all in agreement that imprisonment is a little harsh?
I would agree with that statement.
Okay, so you're,
Explain,
I understand, but
for the people that don't get it, you know, if they don't get it and they keep on burning, then perhaps the magistrate will decide to put them in jail.
Question, if the officer goes to the house, what would he do? Write him a citation right away? Is there a warning not to do it, or how does it work?
It's really up to the discretion of the officer, you know, you know, there's a gray area there. And the gray area is that we do have an ordinance that says there's no burning.
it just
But-
has to be extinguished.
If, you know, we would never, ever just go around looking for people that were burning. If they were burning, that was fine, you know, Allegheny County, we kind of looked at what they were doing there. But if somebody called and said they were having a problem breathing or having, you know, some kind of an issue with that, then we would go and make them put the fire out. And I don't ever remember anyone ever being cited for not putting the fire out, because if you show up and you say, you don't put the fire out, I'm gonna write you a citation for $300. And actually, I think ours is, I think it's up to 300. I don't know if it started at 300, but anyway. You know, it's a gray area, nothing's black and white, really. And if you're a black and white thinker, you know, so, I think this says that people can burn outside certain items if they have a permit.
we're gonna talk about that as well.
Okay.
Let's finish up on this penalties piece. Okay, so we're all in agreement, going back to your scenario, of what you guys just talked about, and you call the police because someone is burning and it's bothering you, or it's a nuisance, whatever, and you go and you say, put it out. That's a warning, is that what you're saying? And then you leave as a police officer. Then if they, tomorrow night.
If someone would complain,
Right, if someone
we wouldn't
complains.
go around looking for fires.
I understand, you're gonna go and you're gonna tell them to put it out, and then you're
Yes.
gonna leave.
And they're gonna
then
put it out. You're
A
gonna
half
stand
an
there
hour
and
later,
they're
they
gonna get out.
relight it, and someone calls again,
Well,
and
that's
you
a
go back a
problem.
second time. At that point, then what is happening?
The
We're
citation?
writing them a ticket.
Sure.
Okay, they ignore the ticket, and a month later, they burn again. Or they don't pay
They
the
would get
ticket,
another
and then
citation.
what? They go in front of the magistrate.
Another citation, sure.
Okay,
And it just keeps building till the magistrate gets so upset that he says, you know, I'm gonna throw you in jail for 10 days. Maybe you'll quit burning. So I think that needs to be left in there.
Dave?
I think it needs to be left in. I mean, that's a working tool for the magistrate's office. It's not for us.
Is that the progression of it? Like if there's, 15, 20 citations, will
Right, like what's the
automatically,
cutoff?
you know, what happens?
Who makes
if-
that decision?
what if
It's the
something-
magistrate, it's the magistrate's decision.
And then would the magistrate be able to make that decision that, all right, you have 15 citations, you apparently aren't cooperating, and then the magistrate can say, well, there's going to be imprisonment for you?
Yeah, I'd say, you know, I'm gonna wipe out all these citations and send you to prison for 10 days.
But can they do that if it's not in the ordinance? Can the magistrate?
If it's
do
not
that?
in there, certainly you cannot.
He cannot do that.
Right.
So,
So give him the tools to work with. Let him, you know,
I'd like to see a ramp progression where you have, you take out some of the gray and you go, all right, you have your first summary offense, or your second, third, all right, now you've gone to, all right, if we'd like to keep imprisonment on the board, on the table here, because that comes at a cost to the taxpayer as well. All right,
what comes out of the cost of the tax?
imprisonment is a cost to society. It costs us as taxpayers to go through these
Oh, I see.
motions. So you would be first, second, third, all right, All right, you've really
Wrapped up some fines.
right. Now, we still have the tool available to the magistrate, as you said, and there's a little less gray area, it's pretty structured, and then, up to 30 days. I would just say this is our opportunity to say, all right, you've gone through this. If we really feel that passionately about prison, can we just leave it to like 7 days or a week? I just read this to be very strongly worded, and obviously you have a lot of experience working with how things work out with magistrates.
Can I interject for a moment here? Anything that the magistrate does is subject to appeal to take it down to the Court of Common Pleas. Okay, so whatever number of fines he levies or whatever imprisonment he puts on is subject to an appeal to take him down to Huntsville. So he's not the last word necessarily.
Okay, and then this be subject to payment of a fine of not less than $300. The progression that, like, we could leave the language in there up to $300, and the progression could be the magistrate maybe fining $50 to this time, and then the next time he has the discretion to take it up to $100 or $150, up to $300. We don't have to specifically say first offense is $50, second offense is,
Correct.
know what I mean?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so how are we feeling about imprisonment now at this point?
We have to leave it in there. It's a tool for the magistrate's office. So
Alice, you haven't said
I don't think
anything.
I just think
Sorry.
imprisonment sounds a little harsh, but I'm listening to Freddie and how he feels. I just feel it's a little harsh. I don't think that it is, as it is stated, it will go down to the small claims court or whatever from here.
It
So
does
it's
sound
not-
harsh when you first look at it,
Yeah.
and maybe that would deter you from violating this ordinance if you knew that imprisonment was a possibility. I wouldn't want to see you get so quickly to imprisonment, but
You're
I'm,
not gonna get there that quickly. The magistrate is gonna go a long, long way before he puts somebody in jail for burning. And if they don't get it, if they don't take the hint,
I
and
mean,
they
I don't
get
want, if we take it out, I
15
don't want it to be
citations.
viewed as, who cares, I'm just gonna rack up all these
Right.
fines and nothing's gonna happen to me, because something is gonna happen to you. So, I'm on the fence.
I think we have a progression and we take some of the ambiguity out of it and we add some more language to just give it some more structure, and we have to provide this tool to the magistrate. You've enforced the law in the community. If you think it's a very valuable tool, then I'm on board with leaving it in, as long as we add some more language about first, second, third, so we don't, let's say,
Well, what do
I
you
don't want
mean?
to have anything become political or whatever it may be.
No, I'm not sure I know what you mean by first, second, third.
He's saying if it happens one time and you get a fine, and then it happens a second time, you're going to jail, that's not gonna be the case.
No, that's not the case. He said up
So he
to,
wants to see it specifically written out, the progression of first offense, second offense, third offense.
Because
Well,
this
the
whole
way-
process cost us as taxpayers to go through this process. So I'm saying this is our opportunity to clearly have a first, second, third phase before we, bog down the court system.
well, according to what it says here, the first offense is $300. And then, but they can't be charged with more than $1,000. So on the first offense, according to this, the magistrate could levy a fine of $300. The second offense, he could levy a fine of $500. The third offense, he could levy a fine, he would make that determination, not us. He would make the determination of what the fine should be for that guy.
Because
That
we're
way-
giving him the range.
Because we're giving him the range, $300 to $1,000. I'm thinking the range should be actually smaller. I'm thinking it should start, at $0 to $300, like a disorderly conduct, for instance. You can get fined, you can get a citation for disorderly
Yeah,
conduct.
I think we're actually speaking the same language right now. I think we're on the same progression. Like, I think
So
we're thinking the same.
Yeah, the verbiage of saying up to $300 gives him the freedom or the leverage to make it progressive, without us saying first is 0.
Or you could wipe out the $300 and make it up to $1,000 if Mr. Gladys would feel more comfortable with that. You could make it just, it'll be a sliding fine from $0 to $1,000, and the magistrate would make that determination.
Okay.
If Mr. Gladys,
Coletta, did you have something?
Yeah, I'd like to propose, since we don't have the exact wording of Allegheny County, you don't remember by searching it.
Allegheny County does what?
Right, because I was gonna say, maybe we could table this discussion about removing.
They actually don't have anything listed.
Right.
in theirs.
Violation in there.
Yeah, it just says that any violation or any condition contained in such permit or failure by the person responsible would be immediately report and take all responsible steps to extinguish the fire. So it does not give you.
So that's the actual ordinance, because I'm reading something here that's not the actual ordinance, a couple of articles that said that their penalty was between 200 and 1,000, and there was no mention of
Well, no, that may be,
imprisonment. And this is the new
police
one.
are giving them a citation, and maybe that's what you're reading, that those penalties, that magistrate is issuing.
What, no, it's specifically about the new Allegheny County adoption in 2014, and there's no mention of imprisonment as part of the penalty. I'm not saying that, since this is only reports from the papers, that's not gospel, so to speak. But, my thinking is, we're looking at Ingram that doesn't have imprisonment. If Allegheny County doesn't have imprisonment, I think it would be out of line for us to have that kind of language. That's my opinion.
Is it covered under anything else? Like, let's say, if you're out drinking in your yard, and, you're allowed to drink in your yard, but if you drink a lot, and it's an issue for, the people around you,
You become a nuisance and someone calls the police.
and then, that's where the police could possibly, take the person away, or would that be, is that covered?
that would probably be like a warning first.
Mhm.
And then if it gets, out of situation and someone's disturbed, the neighbor is disturbed by that, then they would get a disorderly conduct citation. They could get a disorderly conduct citation. And that fine is left blank. When the police officer makes out that citation, it's left blank. And the magistrate decides what the penalty is gonna be. The officer maybe sends a report of what happened to the magistrate's office, and he'll look at the report, and he'll say, okay, I'm gonna fine this person, and he can go anywhere from $0 to $300. I'm gonna fine this person, maybe it wasn't something so bad. I'm gonna fine him $25, and then there's, costs, and now I don't know, I've been gone 3 or 4, I've been gone 6 years. And, the fine basically is $25, but then there's costs that are added onto that, magistrate's fees and all that kind of stuff. And it generally is over $100. So even if they just got a $25 fine, between the scale, it's still over $100. But if the magistrate feels that it was a situation where, this guy's was so disorderly that he really needs to learn a lesson, he can fine him $300 plus all those costs, all those fees. So it could be well over,
I think Dave is trying to get to the point of, can he be imprisoned, right?
Well, if they're disregarding that that ordinance completely? I mean, is it like, does it fall under, you know, like disruptive behavior, like if they don't do it like every single night, I mean.
Disorderly conduct? Is it?
Yeah, and then,
Yeah, you write him another citation, it goes back over to the magistrate. He sets the fine a little higher the next time, and maybe higher the next time, and then if the guy doesn't get it, he can put him in jail for 10 days, or 30 days, or
what
whatever.
like disturbing the peace?
Disturbing the peace, sure. If you're out there playing your guitar in your backyard, and your neighbor calls and says, you know, I don't like this guy playing guitar in the backyard, I can't sleep. You know, first it's a warning, then, you know, if it continues, then it just progresses.
Mhm.
So, I mean, if we decide to make a law here, we have to give the magistrate the tools that he needs to enforce that law.
Okay, I think what it comes down to then is we're, correct me if I'm wrong, we're taking a tool away from the magistrate if we take the imprisonment out of here. Because in your situation that you guys just talked about, you could be called to this house 100 times and get the same citation for being a nuisance in the community, go to the magistrate, and all he can do is assess a fine because it doesn't say anywhere in our ordinance that he has the power to imprison. So that would be 100, you could do it 1,000, you could do it 365 days out of the year and never get in trouble for it.
Doesn't the magistrate have the choice if you don't pay the fine, put you in jail?
Well, that's a different scenario. If they don't pay the fines, he can do that, yes, but
So
We're
you
still-
could pay your fine, violate the ordinance every single day of the year, and not get in trouble. You would just pay your fine.
and not go to jail.
And if we lowered the minimum fine, if we did 0 to 300, and he gave him a $25 fine every time, maybe that person doesn't care about paying
Well, he wouldn't give him $25 every time. First time it might be $25 plus costs. But the second time, if he came through again, say, you know, he's burning again or disorderly conduct again, then this time it's not going to be, it's
I mean,
going to be up to 300 plus costs.
I don't want to see any of our residents go to jail for burning either, but I also don't want to see the person who is intentionally just doing it because they know that nothing's going to happen to them and they're not paying their fines. I don't want to take a tool away. That's like taking a tool away from a police officer too. Like, those are his tools. He needs those tools to do his job. If we don't have it in our ordinance, his hands are tied to a certain degree.
I think if we can leave it on the table, and leave it in there, but maybe lower it from 30 days, and then I just would like to see something well defined.
Well, there is 30 days, sorry.
So, what?
Yes, but it's not mandatory.
I just would like to
It's
see
up
something
and
structured, so that instance,
imprisonment.
let's say, because, I don't want to interrupt, sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine.
So, with other ordinances that we've seen in the community, if somebody gets a warning, all right? Everybody appreciates a warning. I moved to the community, I didn't know, thank you for informing me, I didn't mean to be a scofflaw, all right? Right, scofflaw is like sort of knowing, right? Now you've come out of ignorance, now you have a second offense, now you're a scofflaw, all right, great. All right, you do it again, all right, your third time, it's like now you're going down to the magistrate, and he's gonna deal with you. And I think this, a first, second, third, that gives, right away, the police officer, it shouldn't be up to the officer's discretion, he should be writing that guy or gal a warning and saying, listen, these are the rules, you're not gonna be burning junk, all right, in your backyard, all right? That's that, and then it sort of takes the gray area out of it. We got first, second, third, right? Now you're gonna go downtown, you're gonna see the magistrate, and you've made your situation. And now, the magistrate has all the tools in his toolbox to do what he needs to do. But I'm just concerned about, there's administration. I would even question, is $10 enough for a permit? And some people say, well, why do you make me pay for a permit? well, to burn and to do these things, you have to cover the cost of administration, right? And I think that's something else, you know, once we get through this part of the discussion, you know, is administration, what is administration? What is Mr. Amendola and his experience, how much paperwork will this cause for our force? How much overhead do we need in the office to go through this? And then also, in addition, you know, what kind of burden would this place on the magistrate?
Okay. So we're leaving imprisonment in. Coletta, you still don't feel good about that, I can see.
I mean, I'm not gonna stand in the way. We have a productive discussion going. I think everyone has made points that are serious. And we jump to, one of the things that I'm actually more concerned about right now is that we're all looking at this, we have people here who are concerned about it, don't really know what's in here yet, because I don't see that we distributed these. So we're talking about fines when our residents, I mean, we haven't done the review.
And we definitely
And we will
can't.
get to it.
That
We'll
came
get
up
to it.
first.
So-
Came up first, so.
Yeah, so I'm fine with, whatever the majority decides about this right now. I'm not sure that it's something we absolutely have to resolve today. And there's some serious questions. I think that, when Marcia asked about, well, if you don't pay your fines, does that go into, and Fred mentioned that it goes into another category. So that it's not entirely true that there are no reasons to not pay your fines, because then you're in contempt of court, and then I believe that the magistrate has some abilities at that point over unpaid fines or no.
That is a much fuzzier area than leaving imprisonment in the proposed ordinance.
Okay, let's talk about the dollar amount then. At least we can agree on the dollars, or maybe not, but let's start with not less than 3, but not more than 1,000. Do we want to have that range, or do we just want to say,
Mr. Gladys, what do you think about the range, a sliding fine from $0 to $1,000? And let the magistrate make the decision on the fine.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Well, I'm asking him.
Well, the language.
Let me just tell you, I give you a lot of credit for doing this, and none of us are attorneys here. You know, I believe in what you say and what you've done here in this work, and you've done a good job. But the sliding fine thing, that part of it, I would like to see that 0 to 1,000, so that the magistrate has the.
The language mirrors most summary offenses in the state of Pennsylvania. Okay?
Okay, so that's his stand
$300.
on it.
It mirrors most summary offenses in the state of Pennsylvania. And, as an attorney, to some degree, I rely on the decision makers to make just decisions. I mean, you can't plan for everything in the ordinance itself. You have to leave a little fuzziness in it, actually. Okay, and, if you're going to try to predict this far out as to, the circumstances of what that person is gonna do 2 years from now, burning in their backyard, that's a pretty big stretch.
What if we just change it to up to $1,000? Is everybody okay with that?
Well, it says
What
there
is
are
it?
more than.
Yeah, but it says a minimum of
But,
300.
right, we would eliminate the minimum of 300 and then leaving it for the
We're considering going from no burning at all. And we've heard from some representative people from the community who are making a point about health issues. And so if we're going to revise the ordinance, I would think that it would be important to have a pretty stiff penalty. I mean, it's, you know, we're providing a reasonable way to get a permit. It's pretty clear about, you know, being able to have the, you know, clean burning of wood for enjoyment
So
and
what
containers.
dollar amount do you want to start with?
I really don't have that much of a problem with the 300.
Okay,
I mean, I think maybe 50 or 0 is not, you know, is not enough. I think that most people seeing this will say, we take this seriously.
okay. Okay, so you're in favor of keeping the 3 to 1,000. Dave, we're talking about the dollar amount. Are you good with starting at 3?
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Philip, do we need to vote on just this, or we're just defining
No, I
this?
mean,
Okay.
I'm just saying,
You're good with the 3?
yeah, I think $300 is a very firm statement of, that's the floor, and then I would just like to say, this is the second floor, and this is your third floor. All right, now you're going to court, buddy, you're going down and see the court.
Okay.
I just don't understand it, why we're worried about that if you're allowed to burn, then,
Well, this is if you're violating this ordinance, so if you're burning trash, or you're burning, or something along those lines, you're violating this ordinance.
Okay.
Then these penalties, not to just burn. So you're okay with that when they go
I feel it's too high.
for these, okay, and Alice?
Oh, no, I'm in favor of the 300 with 1,000.
Okay. So the way that it stands then, we're gonna leave the penalty section the way that it is, the wording that it is. Okay? I know you're not all in favor of that, but it seems to be the consensus. So the next hot area was permits. Before we talk about the permits, do you want to just talk briefly about the review of all of the other areas so that the audience does know exactly what we're all talking about and what we can and can't burn?
Well, I think that you need to hit that fundamental question first before you start talking about penalties. The current ordinance says no burning,
Right.
okay? Now, obviously, from what we've heard, there is burning going on,
There's burning going.
okay? So you've got two choices. You can either say, we're gonna have no burning at all, and then you're gonna crack down on everybody, or you're gonna say, you're gonna acknowledge that we have people that are burning, and how are we going to manage that and regulate that, and if somebody steps over our rules, how are we gonna punish them for that?
My thing is, how did we get to this point when Allegheny County says, this is what we go by, this is what the police will bring to your home and tell you that this is what we go by?
I think Mayor Bloom was pretty clear at the last meeting that the ordinance that's on the book says no burning, and that he's gonna enforce no burning at this point.
At this point, but I mean, it's been ongoing and.
Well, there have been people breaking the law.
May I give my opinion, everybody? So, I understand like the basis of the county, like, if it was my decision, I would have, say, all right, we're going to adopt the language of the county, however, we're going to have a penalty section for violating, and offending. That way, folks in the community that have been, their health conditions have been exacerbated, that it's become a nuisance, that they have a way of some type of structured recourse where it's like, they don't have to wait for the magistrate to get to the 100th time that it's happened and it goes to, downtown. And that's sort of just my take on it. But I think the language, it's good language. I think it regulates, it does a fine job of regulating. So now that we have this language, we might as well accept this language. I think the language is very detailed. And maybe we should just, go through a high level overview, Madam President, if you want like to, give everybody the details on what the ordinance says now that we've had this broader conversation about repercussions.
Well, the whole idea of Mr. Gladys writing up this ordinance for us is a starting point. So, you know, I would agree that, you know, we don't have to make a decision on this tonight, but, you know, somehow we should maybe put it on our website or something so that the people can see it and read it. And this would be advertised too, right?
One quick second. Okay. We're just concerned because this is super rough draft, so it is not technically for distribution at this point, just because it is very, 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 very rough draft. So you mentioned that we may or may not have to have a public hearing on this in order to get all of this language together.
To get the language together and to get the public's input.
But this is based on, what you're saying though, even though it's a rough draft.
Right,
It's
it's
based
just being
on-
distributed and it technically
But
shouldn't be
no,
distributed.
but this is, it's a rough draft, but it's
Right.
based on other ordinances that are out there, correct? It's based on Allegheny.
Right.
So this really isn't anything that the public can't see, right? Because it's already out there.
Well,
It's out there on other boroughs' sites.
But it's
their
the
ordinance.
same information though, isn't it?
It is, we just need to be careful, that's all. We just need to make sure that we're not distributing anything, because nothing's been advertised, nothing's been written in stone, and documents are floating around, and you know, I just don't want anything crazy to be published, so, do we wanna table this then and have a public hearing, or what do we wanna do?
That would be my preference, that we could.
You have to anyways,
Yeah.
because it's a zoning change. So we would authorize to advertise. But do we want to keep it like this? Do we want to make revisions? That's the
Yeah, no,
reason
I
why.
think it's reasonable to be discussing the purpose of these kinds of meetings in this particular session. And I appreciate your concern, and I know Marcia and I both sent our copies for people to look at here. We can collect, there's two of them out there, we can collect it at the end of the meeting. And, you know, if we're clearly stating here that this is a rough draft ordinance, and language that we're under consideration.
Right.
And I think everyone here and everyone who will be viewing this will be clear about that.
Okay. Okay.
And I apologize if I did anything that was, you know,
Well, I was the one that asked you to do it.
well, I didn't,
I'll take it on.
since we were discussing everything,
No, I mean, these definitions, we want to talk about the article burning combustible material ordinance, and what is the definition of that?
Can I suggest that
Yes.
before you get to that, is the council of the mind that there is going to be burning in Crafton? I think that's the fundamental issue.
I don't think we're gonna know that until a vote is taken, and when are we gonna take, and what are we gonna vote on until we have an ordinance? I mean, does anybody have a?
Well, I think if
better
everyone was
suggestion?
against a burning ordinance in Crafton, then we wouldn't even be having this discussion. So I would.
So there is a
think it would be fair to
consensus
say
among-
that it is there is a
Let's
consensus.
define consensus here. Consensus means that everyone agrees. And that is not necessarily the case. And that word has not been used correctly tonight several times.
Or it would be at least a majority.
Exactly. And that's different than consensus. I mean, we have people here in our community who have issues with it. And somewhere on the council, someone is going to have to represent those interests. Now, granted, it may not pass, but someone here is responsible for acknowledging that there are people in our community that would like to see the ordinance stay the way it is. So let's say maybe there's a majority and there's enough interest on council to move forward with this. And I would concur with that much.
Yeah, and to what you're saying, I think a majority of council could say that the current regulation is deficient and needs to provide relief, because the current ordinance and the enforcement thereof, is up to the discretion of the officers on duty. So, in my opinion, it would be best to provide more structure to the officers. That way, the residents that have these nuisance claims are provided some relief, so this can be managed. Because currently, the current regulation is not doing an adequate job of managing everybody's interest. So, that's why I think this is a very good foundation of providing a relief to all parties involved, because we share the community.
Well, I don't agree, because that 113-5 that has indoor fireplaces are not to have coal burning, is that what that is?
One 113-5 says that you are allowed to have a coal stove or a coal furnace. Okay, but it puts limits on the use of those things. And what can be burned and
Right, and we could probably, if we were going to retain coal in the community, that the proper appliance isn't, because there's actually federal guidelines for new coal burning appliances. And also there's types of coal. So that's, if we do relax the regulation of going from no burning in the community to burning in the community, I initially did not, the current ordinance, I thought it was mostly focused on outdoor burning. Is that correct? That's correct. So to address some of the constituents, we've added 113-5, correct? Which I think is admirable, and we need to call out the national minimum standards for coal burning stoves, so people aren't burning incorrect fuels such as coke. Coke is not permitted, okay? We go look at the EPA statements on that. If you buy a new appliance, coal burning appliance, you're not to be burning industrial coke in your home.
Because right now, with our no burning, if you're burning inside and you're burning coal and you aren't burning, or I'm sorry, you're not burning coal, but you're burning inappropriate items in your coal fire furnace, and the police are called, there's nothing, because we have no burning for outside, but we don't have anything that addresses inside. Okay, so okay. I agree, so you raised that question. Do you have another concern about this, about that?
Yeah, just, the indoor burning, residents are having a problem with the coal burning in their neighborhood. And I think that we should be an indoor, outdoor, an indoor and an outdoor state, just where they can burn.
And this clearly states that. It clearly says that if the smoke and ashes and or smell emitting to the outside atmosphere from the chimney, stovepipe, or flue are objectionable or offensive to the general public, the operation of such fireplace, wood burning, coal stove, coal furnace, or solid fuel heater shall be suspended by,
That's the authorized.
authority of the use.
okay, sorry. Which currently we have nothing that reads that at all. And then these penalties will apply.
So that is definitely putting more teeth into.
Yes,
the
yes,
regulation than we
I have a
have.
bunch more comments to make.
because currently there is nothing. Okay, so we're,
Oh, so we
I'm sorry,
can,
where do we need to, wait, there is a majority that would like to move forward with this
you
verbiage,
should, because
and we need to have a public hearing, so do we need to entertain a motion to
Just
advertise?
to make ask a couple of other
it's already
fundamental
been over an
questions.
hour.
Do you want to regulate outdoor burning and indoor burning, or just outdoor burning?
I believe we need to regulate both. I think there's concern from both. I mean, and I think we need to bring the community up to the current standards. So if people are going in renovating their homes, we have set a baseline of, you're not gonna go take something, I live in a historic house. I'm not gonna go take an appliance from 1858 and put it in my house and start burning coal. Because guess what? It doesn't burn as efficiently and it emits emissions and causes, you know, health problems. I think that's very rational, you know.
I think it needs to address both. Next question.
Well, the next question is.
I'm sorry.
That, the Allegheny County one does have 3x3 and a 2-foot flame. I don't see that in here. Did I miss it? On that.
And you're talking about for outdoor, right?
Outdoor.
There is no specific measurements.
Allegheny County does allow.
And we can certainly discuss whether or not we want to add that to be part of our verbiage. If you know, if that's something that you feel strongly about, but we can definitely talk about that.
Partly, this is a little vague because it lets our authority having jurisdiction, which in this case is either the fire code official, the police officer, or the code enforcement officer, decide, you know, to a degree between this person burning and this person complaining. You know, is the person burning being unreasonable, or is the person complaining being unreasonable? And it lets the officer have a certain amount of discretion as to which way to go without getting into actually measuring the size of things. That's intentional.
Okay. Did you have another point?
I don't at this point.
Can we talk about the permits then?
Well, okay, generally, the ordinance as drafted provides for a permitting process. The idea behind a permitting process is so that the borough knows who's out there, what they're doing.
Bless you.
And as Mr. Lavaseur pointed out, there is a certain amount of financial burden to the municipality for having to administer this ordinance.
Personally, what I didn't like about this is to obtain a permit 48 hours prior to burning. I don't want to see our residents having to submit for a permit every time they want to burn in their.
No,
This
no.
is for a calendar year, so you can get one for the whole year.
Oh, what time
Turn
in
the
this?
top, burning permit valid for calendar year 2000, whatever.
Where?
Burning application permit, right up
Oh,
at the
you're
top.
looking at that.
The actual,
Okay.
yeah.
This is not, this is just an example from
Yeah,
another
that's not
community.
it. It's
where
in our-
we
it's written up
actually
in
go-
here.
Go to the actual,
Okay.
right.
And on 113-7, it clearly says 48 hours to burning.
Prior to burning, but you can get an annual permit that's
Okay.
going to permit you to burn.
Yeah, an annual permit is required for fire pits, chimeneas, factory-built novelty stoves, or other outdoor burning apparatuses. Permits must be renewed annually and expire on December 31st.
Okay,
of
I'm all
each
for
permit
the
year.
annual, I'm not all for a 48-hour prior to burning. Okay. That was what I had on permits. Anyone else want to say anything about
And is
permits?
there be a charge then if we would do it?
Is that a charge
Get the permit.
if you burn without a permit?
No. Get the permit.
Oh,
How
well,
much is that?
yeah, I anticipated charging for the permit, but that's up to council, not up to me.
I don't think they should be charged, there should be a permit.
You don't think there should be a permit, is that what you said?
No, she doesn't think there should be a charge for a permit. I think just applying for the permit, you have the ordinance, you know what you're allowed to burn, what you're not allowed to burn. I think that's good.
Shows them more responsibility.
Right, I don't think there needs to be.
Anyway, and, I believe there should be some type of cost recovery because this is gonna put you have to cover the cost of administration, right? That, and the cost of administration is a real cost, and I think the borough manager could speak to this. You know, there's gonna have to be forms in place, there's gonna have to be a database put in place, that data have to be, the data coordination is gonna have to be there, so we're gonna have this available to the officers so they know who has, who doesn't, and that's my reasoning behind the cost. But we have to discuss, what would the cost be, you know, before we set the cost, you know, what is our overhead?
What is it gonna take?
Yeah,
I mean, you could do a nominal fee of $25 or $10 if you do it annually, you know, if you, it's just a matter, I mean, I don't know how many we would get. Would we get 100? Would I get 12? You know, see what I'm saying? So being it the first time, if I got 10 applications, that's really very low maintenance, you know? But if I got 1,000, you know, 1,500, that's a lot more updating. So, you know, maybe a $25 fee would be appropriate at that time because it's a, but if I got 100 applications, $10 would be okay. You know, so it would, the demand would depend on the amount of time and paperwork and effort. And really, it would just be a matter of keeping a spreadsheet of, you know, and making sure the police department has access to the current applications.
yeah, and I was wondering, as we develop our website, maybe we can have a permit portal so we can actually.
We do have a permit, all the permits are on the website now.
No, as in, they could actually complete the permit online, so we minimize the paper administration, so it'd be easier to administrate this.
Well, I mean, that's something we can talk about later, but I mean, I just think that, you know, the applications would be available online. And, you know, we would provide that to the police department, so.
I go on with just going online and following and picking up your ordinances and then go from there, but I don't think we should charge residents once more to do, you know.
I don't think the fee's a bad idea, I think it's a good idea. $10 a year, it's nothing, and, you know, just so that they are aware of, well, look, you're gonna get this permit, here are the rules, and, you know, I think it's a good idea. $10 a year.
So we have like a one-time fee and then it like automatically renew, like a $10, because
Like an initial,
I can't imagine that
you're
if
not gonna have it
somebody,
every year.
or if somebody's not gonna renew or think about renewing it or whatever, once they do it, then, I don't know, this seems very, you know, complicated and convoluted for somebody to come in every single year for a burning thing, which is something that's probably more spontaneous. And, you know, like, hey, we're gonna have a party. Or we're gonna have a burning party. You know, some people do it a lot, some people just do it once, you know, a couple times during the summer. So, again, make it easy, make it easier for them. If we're gonna have an ordinance, we're gonna let, you know, they're gonna have the ability to do that. Let's make it as easy as possible and minimize the cost.
I was thinking that the permit I believe, even if we don't.
Can I stop you for a second? Can I just ask the audience, we can hear you guys on the YouTube videos as well. If you could just please try to talk quietly amongst yourselves. Thank you, I'm sorry.
Let me reset. So the permit application also provides us an opportunity to educate those on safe burning practices. And I think that's also, we should take this opportunity to do that. That way, you know, let's say we have a community newsletter or we have it on the website and say, all right, these are the rules for safe burning in this community. Here, this is the permit process, etc. But it's getting it out there, you know, front and center for the community. So.
And number 6, the permit fees will be set from time to time by a duly adopted resolution. That covers us for this verbiage, for talking about this verbiage, so we can set the fee. We don't have to decide on the fee today, if there's gonna be a fee or if there's a renewal fee. We don't have to decide that today. That statement covers us. Okay?
There's one other small item as I'm reading through this. In the indoor, where we talk about indoor fireplaces, et
What
cetera.
number are you on?
I'm sorry, 113-5.
Okay,
So the A is fire, it's been read, fireplaces, wood burning, coal stoves, blah, 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 shall be permitted inside the residential private property within all zones of Crafton Borough solely for the purpose of heating the dwelling unit. And I think, the reality is that most of us who have either gas fireplaces or wood-burning fireplaces are not heating our houses with it. And so I'm wondering if that wording is too limiting for the people who would have, proper wood-burning or natural gas fireplaces that are really used more for ambiance.
I see what you're saying. You have a furnace, you just have a regular fire, log burning.
Yeah, I'll use my home as an example. The Harris house has 12 natural gas fireplaces. None of them are which are in operation, but there's potential, there's 12 of them, and they're really for aesthetics.
So can we tweak that then?
Sure.
Because even if you're not heating your home, you still can't burn those kind of crazy logs in your wood fireplace. So you'll take care of that?
Well, we can take out everything after burn.
Oh, instead of solely for the purpose of heating, okay. Okay. Anything else? Okay, then how do we move forward? I'm sorry? So we're gonna advertise for a hearing? So I'll entertain a motion to advertise for a hearing? Okay. Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to advertise the burning regulations for the Borough of Crafton for a public hearing on July 11th, 2016. That will be held before our regular meeting, so 6:30, okay with everyone? 6:30. Got that? Can I get a move?
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. We've already had our discussion. Any additional discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
And all opposed? Thank you. So we'll have our public hearing. Thank you. Oh my goodness, where are we on this? Did you have anything else from your solicitor's report?
Not at this time, Madam Chair.
Okay. Moving on then to the business agenda. Oh, this is gonna be fun. I'll entertain a motion to appoint Susan, and I can never say her last name, Janowski, okay, to the Shade Tree Commission term expiring March 31st, 2008.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? I'm sorry, Colin, I didn't even realize that you were up.
No, that's all right, I just committed,
So
I committed to,
congratulations, Susan. Okay.
retrieving those copies, sorry.
Thank you. And for public safety, did you have anything that you would like to add, Mr. Bill, on
No.
public safety? Okay, so, did you want to speak to this on behalf of the mayor?
Sure. Council is considering authorizing and allowing a right turn on a steady red traffic signal at Canal Avenue in North Linwood. An ordinance has been advertised and is available in my office for, in public inspection and consideration. And council will consider it at the next meeting.
Okay.
One thing to add, that, the right turn on red, I think is for the purpose of that when you're coming down Linwood to, Reynolds, if they keep turning on red, you can't leave your stop sign. Sometimes you'll sit there and the light will turn red before you get to move.
They did do a traffic study, correct?
Yes, they did.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on then to the comprehensive planning. Did you guys want to speak to this, Dave or Bill, or, you know, this is some of your babies?
You wanna take item one?
Yeah, the steering committee meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, June 21st, 2016. It will be held at the Ingram Borough Building at 6 p.m. So what we've been doing is we've been shifting one meeting, having it here in Grafton, and then having the next one in Ingram, and come back and forth.
Are you going to be, you haven't seen the agenda yet, I'm assuming?
No, I have not.
Okay. So I'm assuming you're gonna talk about like your tour, your walking tour and all that kind of, the data that you gathered from all of those events?
Correct. You know, the information from the pop-up events, and, you know, hopefully we get some information from their perspective on how far they've come with the information that they've gathered so far.
Okay.
Yeah, and there was an action item about a week or two when I was on the road. I believe they asked us to put together profiles. I haven't put together my profile yet for the website. So committee members have the opportunity to have a picture and a short bio. So I plan to be doing mine. I don't know if you've done yours already. So,
Thanks.
but I, you know, we've all been traveling, taking care of business, so that's on our agenda. And then the next thing is we have a pop-up event for Saturday, June 18th, from 11 to 3. We had one about a month ago now over at the Giant Eagle during the Garden Center days. It was about 2 hours. We had to move out of the way. There was a late delivery of flowers to the Garden Center, but we saw even some of our fellow council members there. Ms. Glasser stopped by and said hello. We were pretty successful in reaching folks, and we learned something at that event. The majority of the folks that we met during this event, during the last event, pop-up event, we learned that there's a lot of folks that are shopping in the shopping center that aren't necessarily residents of the community, and we're curious to see what type of demographic that we come across on Saturday.
Okay, and where will you be in the shopping center, do you know?
I believe we're going to be at the Giant Eagle event.
Again, okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'd like to say something on that. They did a very nice job on the presentation down there. All the people they were addressing, the handouts that they were giving, and it was a lot of feedback. So it was interesting to see. You two did a lovely job on it. Just wanted to mention that again.
Thank you.
Very well.
Okay, and the flyers have been mailed, that's correct, right?
Yep, and I believe the manager did a wonderful job on negotiating the printing and mailing services, so I believe both communities came out ahead. How much of the original budget do we have left? I believe we have quite a bit.
Oh, yeah, we budgeted 25, and I believe Ingram did as well, but the total price was only like 1,900.
Yeah.
Total, postage, folding, printing, everything.
Excellent. Thank you. Moving on then, under finance. Does anyone in particular want to speak to this?
You know, there was the recycling grant came through, and that Ann had submitted last year. She provided that information to us in our packets, and is basic as we got the maximum that we applied for, and that the 31,000 of that $78,000 grant went directly on the loan that we approved a little bit earlier this year for the backhoe. So that's the disposition of that at this point.
Okay, thank you. Moving on then to Parks and Recreation.
Okay. I did have some things that I wanted to bring up, and Rob would have more to say, I think, of what's going on down at the pool.
Yeah.
But, and you can make that decision.
It's been pretty labor intensive. It's a learning process within the splash pad. Hot water tanks, we repaired those. Those were up and running. I know it was brought to my attention over the weekend that people were taking cold showers and weren't really happy. We're having some issues with the pump room. We worked with the manager's office. We received the bill today. We're probably going to question for a new pump. It had to be rebuilt and reinstalled. There is a problem with the sump pump in the filter room. Initial estimate, I don't know, talk about it, was in excess of $11,000. But we're looking at different options to try and keep that up and running for the season. The new splash pad is still works in progress. Getting the chemicals online and keeping that up the county code with the chemicals. Dave Killen has been a great asset in the pool. He's been down there constantly, calls over the weekend. He'll go down and respond to any chemical issues that we need to do. It's been a great success though. The pool has been crowded. A lot of people, which is added to the chemical balance as well, especially in the splash zone with the kids. The kids are in there constantly. I think it's a great success for attendance, but it's become a lot of maintenance for us. But again, it's a work in progress, but as far as the success has been great as far as increasing the attendance at the pool. We're working with Ian's office to do a punch list of some of the little tweaks that need done by the contractor too, I guess, before Ian completes the final payment on it.
I visited tonight, and the Recreation Committee were meeting at that particular point over at the miniature golf course. And I didn't get over to the pool to carry on because I was coming up here. They are very interested in renewing the look of the miniature golf course. And I think that there could be a lot of help here, and I think that it would be able to be useful for the community, for the young people. There is a group, DOXA, and I believe they came in previously. They would be willing to come in on June 27th to the 30th and do whatever work was necessary at that particular time. What I can see is the weeding, etc. So their request was, Rob, is would you be able to send over the certified people to spray to kill the weeds out? They were going to come June 27th to the 30th.
To pull them.
Well, it would be just ridiculous to try to pull them.
Okay.
I mean, that would take an entire season and a half. That is way beyond, really. Is there any chance that we would be able to have someone come in this week, beginning of next week?
Yeah, I can have well, I'll take a look at the Public Works group. I want to see the best available weed killer we can get to address it. And we could definitely have a crew go and spray that. Maybe early as tomorrow. I have the summer kids on. They all started today. They're a great help. We actually went out and did some weed cutting along all the borough steps. They completed every set of steps except for Walnut for weed cutting. I can have a crew down there tomorrow. I'll talk to them.
Oh,
Guys, we'll try and get that sprayed tomorrow.
that would be wonderful. Absolutely fabulous. Now,
Can I ask you a question
Go
about
ahead.
the golf? So are we talking about just for this, like, are we trying to have it forever? I mean, like, why don't we use it? Why isn't it open all the time? Why did it overgrow with weeds? I don't know the whole story behind what happened to the golf.
I think it was, I don't either,
Okay.
because I'm new on this.
Okay.
But I'm trying to find a way of getting it started again also. the Knights of Columbus are willing to give money to wherever we need it, money or time, or, people. Right at this particular point, to redo all the padding and everything, the greens, let's call them. The
Okay.
greens, there are some greens that are still in the stand there, but that is not going to be enough to cover all of those.
But that
They
doesn't belong
really
to
need
us,
done.
right? It belongs to us. It doesn't belong to the school district or.
No,
It's
that
not part of the
belongs,
athletic
that
field,
belongs
it's
to
ours.
us.
Okay.
And, I think that it can be a great little asset here for
Oh
our
my gosh,
community.
it was wonderful when it was open.
It's nice.
Okay.
So, if, we just have to let them know how much, not how much, we're not sure how much they want to give. But I think that we just need the new covers and how they're put on. And the big thing is to be picked up at the end of the season, because that's what happened before. They rotted away because they were just left.
Oh.
It just was the
Do
maintenance
we have a
there.
number who was used before, when it was done refurbished before with Sharon Gaines?
Right, right.
We did it, so I have all the sizes and all the.
Right, and Sharon was down there tonight. She has so many great ideas of what we could do, but it's also the rental in October. This can go even a little bit further into the season, into October. Thinking that if the money is not, all the money that would, say we would take in, it could be used to help pay for the kids that would be over there. And it would probably be 2 people, we were talking of safety on that. So, is there
So we're gonna
anybody-
start the ball rolling on getting that
Well,
back
that
to where
would
it
be
needs
great,
to be.
if Rob said he has 2 kids that are working over at the park, but I don't know who's certified to go spray.
No, I got, none of the regular borough employees that are certified.
Right.
We have 5 out of the 6 guys that are certified, so.
Okay,
The last time when it was open, they had to pay for it at the pool. So the money and stuff was not
over there, for the safety. See, I didn't know the workings.
Because
of
I
all
know
this.
we opened it up once for like a Halloween kind of haunted thing.
And again, that is what they discussed also tonight. Having
There's no more
their,
room on the camera.
Advertised to use it for birthday parties.
Right,
Come
right,
in,
right.
use it for a birthday party, then it's $25.
Okay.
There's no more room on the camera. We have run out of space. So does anybody have an extra memory card?